Yeah, 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 yeah. What's going on with y'all boys? I know I'm back. Don't get too excited, bro. I know I'm back. But yeah, we're gonna be reacting to the scariest true story that I've told. And y'all gonna see my reaction and we obviously in the motherfucking dark. So to add a little spicy to the video. So yeah, make sure you like it, you subscribe it, otherwise, you might not make it past this video, bro. Yo. Why is it starting out like this, bro? What the fuck?
I once booked an Airbnb by myself in an area in Arizona that I had a job interview.
Okay, see now you're making me look at Airbnbs a whole nother way, bro. Now let's just continue.
Since it was so far from home, I made a short trip out of it. I went with this one specific Airbnb because it was much cheaper than any hotels I could find. It was about half an hour away from where I'd be interviewing for, which was fine with me. It was off some dead-end, secluded road, and it had a nice view of the desert in the backyard. I brought my laptop with me to get work done at my at-the-time current job during the day, so that kept me busy most of the days I was there. I stayed for 3 days. My interview was on the second day that I was there, which was a Tuesday. I would be leaving Friday, so on Monday, the night before my interview, I was practicing interview questions for this specific company, and just generally getting some last-minute knowledge on their firm. I was doing this on my laptop in the living room of the little house, probably around 9 p.m., when there was a tap at the window. I say tap because it wasn't exactly a knock. It sounded more like it could have been someone's...
That, bro, you gotta understand, that wasn't being scared. I was just like, because I thought something was like, so I wanted to...
finger.
Shut up.
My head, of course, swung to the left to look at the window in reaction. I didn't see anyone, but it was also pitch black outside. I was kind of scared to look out the window, but I had to be a man and just do it. And there was no one as far as the eye could see. Just darkness.
Okay, see,
of course, maybe it could have been a bug hitting the window. We've got some pretty nasty bugs here after all.
Nah,
the next day, I got through my interview and thought I did pretty well. So for the rest of my little trip there, I explored different parts of the town in my car, ate at different restaurants, and sat in the backyard and relaxed in the sun. Little did I know.
Why is it when you're in the dark and you're just watching something scary, random shit just starts touching you? It doesn't touch me as often as it is right now when there's light, but now since it's dark, niggas think it's cool to start touching niggas. Like, you're not funny, bro. Like, yeah.
I was likely being watched while I was in the backyard. That night, I was inside watching Breaking Bad on Netflix when it happened again. A single tap at the window.
And you still not
Now
leaving?
It was obvious it wasn't a bug. I was even more disturbed now, but once again rushed to the window. Even though I saw no one, that didn't mean someone wasn't out there. I checked the windows by the front door, then opened the door and looked outside for a second. Since there was no one there, I went back inside and then went to the back door. I stepped outside onto the back porch and looked out to the desert behind the house. Silence and darkness. And then I heard a click. A sound someone made, like clicking their tongue at the roof of their mouth. It was off in the distance, beyond the light from the house.
And you
it
just
was out somewhere in that cold desert. I felt as though someone could be hiding behind any number of those bushes, watching me and toying with me. I yelled out, and almost as if they did it in response, there was another click. I pinpointed the direction it came from and looked that way. I could see someone now, standing not too far away, dressed in dark clothes, blending into the darkness of the desert. I started walking a little closer, then stopped, realizing I didn't want to get any closer to that person.
Why do you want to get closer?
I called out, "You're on private property. I'm gonna call the cops if you don't leave." And I saw the person eerily quickly walk away. I theorized it was the Airbnb owner, but obviously that was a stretch and I didn't really know what to actually think.
That would be the weirdest
night following,
Airbnb owner.
I was in my bed on my laptop watching Breaking Bad again before going to bed. I think I watched 2 episodes, so I was doing this for about an hour and a half. I didn't hear any noises in the house, though I was definitely giving thought to that encounter from earlier while watching the show. When I finally turned off the light in the room and tried to fall asleep, within 10 seconds, there was a click sound again, muffled from the inside of the closet. I looked at the closet door, which was open just a crack. Then, a pretty natural response, I sprang off the bed, still in my PJs, and ran to the car. I sat in the driveway with the car
Oh,
running,
at least
and I called
now you
911. I stared at the house as I
brain
spoke
works.
to the dispatcher, waiting to see if someone would come out, because all of my stuff was still in there. A police car arrived, and upon entering the house, we did a quick investigation of the house together. It was very small with not many places to hide.
You know, cops are the most unfortunate people, because it's like, imagine if there was a ghost or there was some creepy serial killer. Now that nigga has to die so that you get saved. Like, it's hey, but you know what you
Conclusively, I
signed
still
up
packed
for,
my
I guess.
stuff and left that place that night for a nearby hotel. I contacted both Airbnb and the host, and I was only able to get a partial refund for my stay. I still think it may have been the host of the Airbnb. I mean, who else would have access to the house? There were no signs of forced entry, which leads me to believe whoever it was may have had a key. But maybe I'm wrong.
Hey,
Maybe it was a stranger who snuck in at an opportune time.
Hey, bro. Go back there and find out. Story number 2, bro.
My wife Cheryl and I have been together for 10 years. We got
Starting off
married
bad.
2 years ago. We just got a house together not even a
House
month
looks
ago,
ugly. I'm
and things couldn't have started on worse
I'm
notes.
joking.
We moved to a small inland town of Georgia called
I'm
Waycross.
joking,
That's
bro.
all the details I'm giving though to avoid any more possible issues. We're on a quiet street with a big property that sits in front of a medium-sized patch of woods, which was one of the factors that really appealed
I'm
to my
sorry,
wife and
bro,
I.
But we know what kind of people would live here. Like I don't. That sounds so wrong. I don't even want to say what kind of people. This bro, you better chill out before I start knocking your ass out, bro. Starting to forget I have a shadow. But yeah, bro.
We plan to adopt a dog and raise kids
Hey.
here, so we wanted a big property for the dog and kids to play around on. We both work similar shifts. I get home around 5 and she gets home around 6 most of the time. The first 2 nights in the house went completely normal. It was the weekend, so we spent our entire days unpacking.
Okay,
It wasn't until Monday
watch the
night
whole video
when we were
because who
both in
wants to
bed,
be here?
only having turned the lights out maybe
40
20
minutes
minutes ago.
late. I'm
The first 2
talking
nights in the
too
house went
much.
completely normal. It was the weekend, so we spent our entire days unpacking. It wasn't until Monday night, when we were both in bed, only having turned the lights out maybe 20 minutes ago, that outside from the backyard, there was the sound of this blasting music.
Hey.
Our nearest neighbors on either side were spaced out enough where we couldn't mistake music from their yards being in our yard. It was definitely in our
Doesn't sound
backyard,
scary, bro.
and it wasn't party music or anything like that. It sounded like very old, staticky, vintage music. The windows were shut, so after my wife and I exchanged horrified glances at each other and wondered where the music could be coming from, I opened my window on my side of the bed, and it was much clearer. There was some song that sounded like it was from the 1940s or something blasting. I later found out after looking up the lyrics that the song name was Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf by Henry Hall. It has a slight eerie vibe to it for some reason, even though it was meant to be a happy song. But at the time of listening to it coming from our backyard, it was nothing but downright horrifying. We were still learning the house, but we figured there must be a backyard light switch downstairs. I ran downstairs to the back door and flicked the light switches next to the door, and one of them turned on the backyard lights. I didn't see anyone in the backyard. I opened the door, and the music was louder, obviously.
Get out.
As I walked out into the grass, I realized it wasn't coming from the backyard, rather from the woods. The song played to completion as I was outside in the yard just standing there
Why are
looking
you
around.
making yourself such
When
a
the song
victim?
ended, there was silence again. It seemed like someone must have been playing some stupid housewarming prank, but it wasn't appreciated. I went back to my wife and told her it was probably just some kids trying to scare the new ones in town for whatever reason.
Oh,
Hearing myself
Sure,
even
buddy.
say that, I realized how stupid and weird it sounded.
yeah.
Why would anyone do that? The next night, it happened again. A few minutes after we turned out the lights in the bedroom, music from outside started blasting. This time much louder, and the song playing was that song everyone's heard, Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Cheryl and I once again looked at each other, this time in genuine disgust and worry, because we had hoped it was just going to be a one-time thing, but it was happening again. I looked out the window, and this time I could see something on the grass.
Okay.
It wasn't a person, but there was definitely something out there. I told my wife I was going to check it out.
No way.
She said we should just call the cops,
way.
and I said yeah, we will in a second. I went out there with this mindset that I need to establish I'm the man of the house, not just to my wife, but to whoever was thinking they could mess with us just for being the new people on the block.
I don't even
When I was
know
in the
what
yard, I saw the object in the grass was smaller than I had thought, but the blaring, creepy song was coming from it. I realized it was an old radio. I turned it off and looked up at the window at my wife who was watching, and I held it up, yelling that someone left it there to scare us with the music. What she did next was not something I expected in response to that. She started screaming my name to run inside. She kept screaming, "Run."
And you weren't running.
I yelled, "Why?" And she screamed back, "There's people standing behind you." This statement made my heart skip a beat, and I turned around to face the woods. I saw 3 figures standing like 6 feet apart from each other, clearly facing my direction. They weren't running at me, they were just standing there. I yelled, "Oh shit," and ran back inside the house, slamming the door behind me. My wife was upstairs, hysterical, crying already. I told her I'd call the cops, and I did.
Mr. Superman, right?
They arrived thankfully not that long after. All the while, we were scared to hear knocks at one of the doors or windows. My wife and I desperately explained the situation to both of the police that arrived. And I showed them the radio on the ground. I asked them if they could take it back with them as evidence for prints, and told them I only touched the top part with the handle. They did take the radio. They also checked the front of the woods with their flashlights for a few minutes, probably just as a deterrent to the people in the woods to stop their behavior if they were still there. When the police left, honestly, we went right back to feeling vulnerable and scared. But thank Christ the people never returned. This was only a few weeks ago though. God forbid they came back, I'd try to get it on video.
Hey, listen bro, listen. This is... Okay, let's watch story 3. That will be the last.
I've worked as a nurse in multiple
awesome
hospitals and facilities. Before the current hospital I work at, I worked at a geriatric hospital 30 minutes from my house.
Okay,
I had experience working with older patients before, so this was nothing new to me. I had been working at this hospital for only a couple of weeks, and you'll soon understand why. This was on my second to last shift at this hospital, unbeknownst to me at the start of that night. I was working the graveyard shift, and I was running on negative hours of sleep. I was assigned to the Alzheimer's ward. The patients in this ward absolutely adored me. My presence as a young girl in her 20s among the residents of this ward who were otherwise left to themselves to float around in their minds, I'm sure saw me as a breath of fresh air, someone who could tie them to the now or to the everyday. If you're just left to yourself, you can mentally go to other places, but with someone else in your space, you're tied to that moment in time. I was dealing with a number of patients that night, but one was a little more restless than the others. Her name was Lena. This was my first night dealing with her. She kept telling me anytime I'd enter her room about the voices she kept hearing and the man dressed in black she kept seeing in the corner of the room. The other lady in her room requested her curtain be closed before my shift started so that Lena would leave her alone. She was a sweet lady that smiled whenever I was around her, but she didn't say much and was very forgetful. Since I started my shift around 9 p.m., most of the patients were asleep by 11, but not Lena. Whenever she called me into the room, she'd be frightened of these alleged voices she was hearing, and the man in black that kept staring at her in the corner of the room. Not gonna lie, it was creeping me out a little. I believed that in her mind she was seeing and hearing these things, and I sympathized with her because I imagined them to be very scary. But still, I tried my best to calm her down and get her to go to sleep. I didn't want to turn on the TV to calm her down because I wanted to be courteous of the other patient in the room. I held Lena's hands and told her it's okay, to breathe and to relax. I reminded her that she wasn't here alone, and I was always just a call away. This seemed to do the trick. Lena relaxed for a while, and the next time I came in the room, she was asleep. Once most, if not all, the patients are asleep, the night goes much slower. Time almost moves in reverse. An hour or two later, I was in the linen room stocking my cart when I heard something in the room. It was a relatively small, dead quiet room. I had the door closed too. That's why hearing another noise was weird.
Bro,
I turned.
Why do items just move around when you're in the dark? Like, I don't like this. I think, not that I'm scared. It's like, you know, niggas are just acting weird on my table right now. Cause like,
saw nothing and resumed stocking my cart. Then I felt what I can only describe to be a hand on my shoulder. I looked at my shoulder, jumped, and screamed. There was nothing on my shoulder. There was no one in the room. Yet I knew I felt something large basically grab my shoulder.
I just felt, as he's saying this, I put myself in the scenario and felt a hand just grab my elbow. How is this an elbow? We talked about this, bro. You're in front of people. You can't be fucking up like that, bro. Anyway, my shoulder. I just put myself in a situation and felt someone grab my shoulder. So that's why I got the EBGBs, bro. Shut the fuck up, bro.
Shoulder. I went out in the hall for a second to peek my head. No other nurses in sight. Dead
I
quiet.
jumped out the window.
I had nothing else to do but resume what I was doing. I continued stocking the cart until it was full. Then I turned to face the door.
No way.
And I fell to the floor and started screaming as my heart was immediately in my throat. There was a man dressed in black standing outside the door, looking through the glass, smiling. My screams were loud enough to wake the entire ward. The man disappeared out of sight through the glass window of the door. Seconds later, the door opened and one of my fellow nurses came in to help me off the floor as I was hysterical.
Now you're trying to come.
I asked her if she saw the man dressed in black. Her response was, "What man? There's no one else here." We checked all the rooms in the ward. There wasn't anybody dressed in black in there. My screams woke Lena from whatever light sleep she must have been in, and when I came into her room, she started talking of the voices. This time the screams, which she didn't know were my screams. I asked her what this man in black looked like, if he was smiling. And she looked at me, and I noticed her eyebrows point down, as her expression changed to look the most focused I'd seen her the entire day. She asked, "How did you know?" And even with my heart still racing, I felt it skip a beat as she said this. She started screaming now, screaming, "Get me out of here, he's coming." The other nurses came in and tried to calm her down. I was switched to a different ward that night with someone else, and I eventually ended up going home early because I was just so freaked out. I texted the head nurse the next day that my next shift would be my last, that the experience traumatized me and that I didn't really want to be in that building anymore. I got as friendly of a response as I could have hoped for.
Don't do
I've never been diagnosed with anything, nor have I ever dealt with hallucinations of any kind. I'm aware of the effects of lack of sleep, but this was next level. I don't know if my mind started playing tricks on me from what Lena was telling me all night, but the feeling of the hand on my shoulder, the image of the smiling man behind the glass door, matching the description a patient kept giving multiple times. This was one of those once-in-a-lifetime, unexplainable supernatural occurrences. At least, I hope it was once in a lifetime.
So, yep. Bro, I might have been like, just a little bit, scared here and there, but it's like, chill the fuck out, nigga. Make sure you comment down below. What do you think about this series? Because I'm gonna do it often, because it's pretty cool. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm gonna catch y'all boys. You know the story in another video. And girls, I don't discriminate. So yeah.
Oh no.